Today we are lucky enough to have Katrina Kiefer here from the Canadian Mental Health Association. I was working at the bank probably in the beginning of the summer, and I had an elderly gentleman in my office for something completely unrelated. And out of the blue, while I was busy doing his financial thing, he volunteered that his wife had passed away a couple of years ago, and that now he finds himself sitting in his apartment, very lonely and very depressed. And I kind of didn't know what to say to him. You know, I mean, you can commiserate and understand, but like going forward, how do you help? So I thought it would be a good idea to wander down to the Canadian Mental Health Association's office down on 2nd and stop in and see if there was an outreach worker, anybody that I could talk to about that, and maybe arrange a speaker for today. So please welcome Katrina Kiefer.
Eric, is that microphone on?
Yeah, use the microphone.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm just too tall for it.
And I'm too short for the podium, so there you go. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you to Eric especially for making the trek down 2nd Avenue to CMHA. I'm really, really happy to be here. I have been working in this field in social services and mental health and addictions and youth for 30 years. Now I'm aging myself. I dropped an 80s reference before, now I'm dropping 30 years. So I obviously have a passion for what I do. I don't think you can do this kind of work day in and day out without being extremely passionate and dedicated. So I'm not the face of CMHA. I am a manager at the clubhouse. I'm the manager at CMHA in the head office, which is on 2nd Avenue. But we are an organization that is serving Port Alberni for the adult mental health needs. We don't actually, our mandate isn't for youth. The ministry does that. So I just want to give you, to start off, I just want to share a few things. So before I go into the big, long rambling of what we do and how we do it and all that kind of stuff, I want to ask you, does anybody off the top of their heads know what percentage of Canadians are affected by mental illness?
20%.
Oh. Ding, 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 ding. There you go. Absolutely. 1 in 5, 20% of all Canadians are affected in some way by mental illness. So if you think, I don't know how many people are in this room. First off, we all know, I'm just going to guess, that we all know somebody. Whether they're closely related, they're an acquaintance, some kind of relative. My boss, Bob Hargreaves, he always says, everybody's got a crazy Uncle Joe, right? Somebody knows somebody. And
That's me.
yeah. We joke, I mean, we work with mental illness every single day, so don't feel weirded out by using the word crazy. We use crazy a lot. Sometimes just tongue in cheek, and sometimes you just have to. We have to have a really good sense of humor. So crazy Uncle Joe, or crazy cousin, or sadly, in a non-funny way, somebody that we've lost, more likely. We've lost huge percentage of people in Canada and every day sadly commit suicide due to mental illness. So yeah, it is often about saving lives in a roundabout kind of way. Anyway, so we know people. We know people. We may be suffering from mental illness. Our partner might be suffering from mental illness. Our children, our parents, our cousins, the neighbor. Crazy Uncle Joe. What do we do with Crazy Uncle Joe? Right? How do we help?
Send him to Italy once in a while.
Do I need to change the Joe name?
Send you back to Italy.
Okay, Crazy Aunt Beth. I don't know. No Beth's in the room, right? Okay. So I'm going to do this really informal because I don't have a presentation. I'm going to try and sort of pulled myself a little bit back because I tend to kind of go off on a tangent because I'm really feel strongly about serving people and serving people with mental illness. So if I go off on a tangent, please, Eric can just throw a shoe at me or something. But so it's a huge problem. The biggest problem isn't that there are diseases and illnesses out there that affect people. The biggest problem in our mind is the stigma attached to it. Every single day we say, well, if you only had cancer, yeah, we can deal with that. That's concrete. We can hold that in our hands. We know we have a diagnosis. We know what to do with cancer. And yes, people die from cancer, and I'm not minimizing that in any way. What I am saying is that the stigma attached to mental illness, the fact that mental illness isn't addressed on the medical level to the same extent that cancer is, and excuse me for using that again, but that's what keeps people ill. That's what keeps people from getting help. There is shame still to this day in having a mental illness. And that's what I fight every single day. And when I talk about the program at Clubhouse, for instance, stigma creates shame, creates fear, but it also creates isolation. So because people feel shame, they stay in their houses. Their wife dies, they don't know what to do, they don't know where to go. They're probably maybe in a depression. And the symptoms of depression is isolation itself, right? So not only countering the actual symptom of the illness, you're countering society's idea of the fact that you're not really ill. You're not really sick. Just pick yourself up. Just get out of bed. What are you doing? Just get out. Go make some friends, right? Go keep busy. So as much as we're well-meaning as members of society and we want to help, nobody really knows, not nobody, but some people don't really know how to be helpful. And I'm really grateful to Eric, to be honest enough to say, I don't know where to send him, right? I don't know what to do with this particular illness. If he had diabetes, if he said, gee, my wife died and I just broke my leg and, or I'm dizzy, I get dizzy spells, whoa, yeah, Eric would be all over that. He knows what to do. People don't know what to do with mental illness. And so I think, as CMHA, we start with trying to do our very best to raise awareness and to destigmatize. It's a huge part of it. And then we provide service. So here's another trick question. Anybody know, outside of Island Health, in the medical system, outside of Island Health, who's the largest service provider for mental illness in Port Alberni?
Because.
There's a t-shirt here, people.
Salvation Army.
Staples.
Nope. Nobody? There's a t-shirt. Thank you, CNHA.
Oh, I see. I was looking around for a t-shirt. Who's wearing a t-shirt?
I'm trying to give a t-shirt away. Help me out. All right, so Canadian Mental Health Association. And this, actually, I've only worked there a year and a half. And I was so surprised that this community doesn't know what we do. We're the largest service provider for people affected by mental illness outside of Island Health in this community. And we hit 4 different places. And so that's my job, is to say, hey, we do this every day. We have 40-something employees. We have 12 FTEs and a schwack of casuals. We have, okay, I don't know any sites, I didn't count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm missing some, and I'll get to them when I run through our programs. Probably 8 programs within CMHA. 8. It's not bad. We see, at Clubhouse alone, we see on average 66 different people who come fairly regularly in a month. That's our average, right? Average daily attendance is about 30, 35, 40, depending on the day, depending on how close it is to welfare day, and that comes other variables. But, okay, I'm going to run through our programs. So now that I've touched on that. So At CMHA head office, that little house on 2nd Avenue in Athol in the corner, we have the admin, which is basically our executive director, myself. We have Clubhouse, which is the majority of that building. CMHA owns that building, so we're really lucky that we're really stable that way. We have an advocate who used to be Patty Edwards, and some of you might know her. And now we have Rainey O'Connor when Patty moved to Scott Fraser's office permanently or full-time. We have peer support. So we have other people affected with mental illness who are trained to provide support services. They're not counselors, but they're supportive, and they're open every afternoon. So they have their own office there. And then there's Clubhouse, which is all of the downstairs and half of the upstairs. And within Clubhouse, I'll get to that because that's kind of where I spend most of my time. We have a therapeutic horticulture program. You guys met Charles a couple of weeks ago. So Charles and Anna, they work with us. And they have done an amazing job out there at the farm and provide, again, an opportunity for people with mental illness to volunteer, to work, and some of them get honorariums. And they do a service not only for the community providing the food, beautiful organic food, but a service for people to get up every single morning, have a place to go to. Digging in the dirt is so therapeutic, and they're doing a fabulous job. We have a lot of housing. So we've been able to provide, in partnership with BC Housing and Island Health, we have Port House, which is near the police station on Morton, and it is a 4-bed residential short-term for people who probably are coming out of hospital, for instance. They need some real help. They can't particularly transition back to being independent, and so that's staffed 24/7. It's a group home. We have Kendall Avenue Apartments, which is long-term, 16 units on Kendall and Rogers, second building in. And that has 16 units of people who really because mental illness is often a very progressive illness, they're not going to live, they're not going to live on their own probably again. So we have a staffed building there. It's not 24/7, it's just 8 hours a day, but they're able to do that. There's enough support there that they can live on their own in their own apartments. Next door to that is Rogers Street Apartments. Now that is 42 units, and that is transitional housing. So that is probably the first place that we'll send somebody when they're really in either coming out of crisis and need to live on their own. Maybe they're out of Port House now, but they've got no place to go. It's a resource that our outreach workers send people first. They can stay there long term. Most people don't. Most people stay there about a year or two, and then they move on from there. It's very small units. They're just bachelor little apartments with a shower and not a full kitchen, just sort of a hot plate and a fridge. But it's supported. So it's staffed 16 hours a day and 7 days a week. So that has, it's not low barrier housing, but it's pretty close. We have a lot of at-risk people who live up there, and they really need the support of the staff who are there 16 hours a day. But it's quite the tight little community, and they've done a community garden and all sorts of wonderful programs out of there. And then we have the King George Apartments, which we actually run. CMHA runs that, has an agreement. It's a private agreement outside of any government funding. Bob Hargraves worked with the owner of that building, and there's a very interesting arrangement legally and financially so that we can provide low-income housing. Some of those units are $375 a month, and some of them are $600. Either way, they're lovely, just normal one-bedroom apartments or two-bedroom apartments. But it's decent housing, it's safe housing, it's non-stigma housing. It blends, everybody blends, and this community really does need low-income housing. So it provides, most of those people we know have mental illness. I would say probably all of them have mental illness, but you wouldn't know it walking by, right? And we love that. So the King George Apartments is and that's up on Argyle and 5th. Yeah, I think that's it, 5th, right? Across from the Capitol Theatre. And I mentioned the outreach workers. So the first point of contact is often, we have two FTEs and a part-time outreach worker. They're funded by BC Housing. because they are on the street. They're boots to the ground. They have no office. They come see me just to get some human contact sometimes because they need some perspective because they're out there. They're on the street and they're helping people who are living wherever. In the bush, they often go in the bush. And we have a lot of them. We have a lot of people in this community who are homeless. They're not in your face. Some of them are, but they don't try to draw attention to themselves. They try and stay in the bush, or they'll, we've got a few people who really don't even know that they're where they're at in the moment because mental illness is so, they're extremely symptomatic, and that'll be the person that you see who's asking for money up the road. That's the person who's sleeping. I mentioned to Eric in the TD alcove underneath the carpet with no blanket and no shoes on right now. So most people. Oh, here's another T-shirt. What's the percentage about of people who are homeless, like abject homelessness, who suffer from mental illness? Anybody want to throw a number out? Sorry?
About 75.
You betcha. 75%. And really, and I was saying that to Eric before, like really, I'm gonna guess it's higher. I really am. There's a reason people can't get and keep housing. And I'm not trying to be crass, but there are behaviors that are symptomatic of some serious illnesses that keep people, when you can't remember if you got a shirt on and you haven't eaten and you are hearing voices and you think the gorillas are coming to eat you and you don't know your own name, you don't make a good impression to a landlord, I'm just saying. No thank you, and they don't even know how to try. They don't even know how to present themselves to a landlord. So never mind getting a place, even that's what our homeless outreach will really try to do, is advocate for them to get into some kind of low barrier housing, but keeping the place. So when you think the walls are crawling, when you think somebody with a bloody hand is outside your window scraping their hand down, you're in fear all the time. So these are people who are not responding to treatment, or for whatever reason the treatment isn't working for them or available to them. They're not able to access it. I was around, I don't know if anybody remembers Riverview, so that was in Coquitlam. I grew up in the mainland, so Riverview, I drove by it every single day. Now Riverview had its good points and bad points, but it was a locked facility for people who couldn't be housed or couldn't be managed and treated. There were severe symptomatic people. We don't have that anymore. And every single day I am trying to help Island Health. I'm trying to work with Island Health to try and access some kind of resource for people who aren't being addressed and really need block treatment. And I'm not trying to bring us back into the last century, but there are some people who really just need more help than community services can provide. Now that's not my typical day. I have people who come in every day, and I try and serve them as best I can. But I run up against roadblocks all the time in a system that is unable, or the medical system.
It's unwilling.
Hmm?
Unwilling.
I can't say.
Not willing.
Oh, not willing. So I don't know if there's a lack of willingness. I mean, I don't want to argue it, but I think people have their hearts in the right place. But there's different. We need a myriad of services. We need a spectrum of service. And now, in our small way, CMHA tries to do that. So we like I said, we have everybody from the homeless outreach workers who are working with people who are living in the bush, and I have everybody all the way along the line to my peer support workers who are living in wellness and have demonstrated wellness and are working a wellness plan, and now they're in the position to be able to provide support to other people. So CMHA does that. We do service providing all the way along the spectrum, and I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that CMHA isn't just pigeonholing into one particular kind of service delivery, because what it does, it provides hope, right? So for the person who doesn't remember their name today, they can see that with treatment and with support, they can be at some point, they're going to be able to provide, they're going to be in wellness and they're going to live day to day and they're going to be happy, and there is hope. And it's a huge thing to offer hope. Hi.
What is your budget?
1.8 million total for all of the programs. All the programs.
Is Maple Street under your
No.
umbrella?
No. We get the majority of our funding from Island Health and NBC Housing. We're of course a registered charity, so we are expected to raise funds to offset certain costs, and that's within our contracts. So, so we have to fundraise. Yeah. So, and we do that. We do. I think the Ride Don't Hide T-shirts. That's our main fundraising. It's a Canada-wide fundraising event, and it happens. It happened in June this last year, and we're going to get better at putting that out. But people have teams. It's an anti-stigma campaign, as well as fundraising. So we have teams of bike riders that we put out. People sponsor each other and compete against each other and raise funds. So we have everyone from, I think, a team from the city, and a lot of our board of directors will get actively involved in putting out teams and things like that. And then we do that. We sort of compete against each other in CMHA. Well, Clubhouse will have our own team, and so we get a little competitive around raising money. But we need to, because that's what we do. We're a charity. I want to go back to Clubhouse because Clubhouse is my passion. So back in the day, it started in 1992. It was a drop-in center at that time, and we've evolved into an international center for clubhouse development, an ICCD clubhouse. And so it is a psychosocial rehab program, but it's different because it is member-run, member-driven, member-focused. And so you'll notice I use the word member. They're not clients with us, they're members. So we only have 2 staff, besides myself, and I'm not there all the time, who are in the clubhouse. So when I said there's 60-something people on average in a month, and there's 30 a day, that kind of thing, there's only 2 staff. So what that means is that we're a very busy program. We provide a lunch, a full hot lunch. We have an employment unit, we have an education unit, we have a clerical unit. The running of that building, the members run that building. And we do that on purpose because meaningful and purposeful work, whether it's paid or not, is a reason to get up in the morning. And our very existence is trying to help people to get out of bed and to counter their isolation. So it's not a senior center, it's not just for seniors, but absolutely we have a lot of seniors. Everybody from, I think, 18 to, the whole adult life. They can come, they can participate, and they can work. Yeah.
Annika, I have to apologize because we've run out of time.
Oh, no.
No, but what I have questions, and I'm sure that other people have questions as well.
Absolutely.
So with your permission, can I put your contact information out by email
Sure.
to our members?
Sure.
And perhaps a link, and then Colin also has something.
Okay. I just wanted to point out, please help yourself to any and all of these that I've brought. Some of them are mental illness pamphlets, but our clubhouse and our peer support pamphlets that are written and created and produced by our members are out here too. My cards are here, some fact sheets, and I have one more T-shirt to give away. What do I say? What's a sad one? I don't want to. Oh, it's suicide. Anybody want to guess how many people, Canadian people a year, within, we'll do a couple hundred, commit suicide because of their mental illness? Sorry?
I said about 20 out of 200.
Okay, I don't know about per capita. How about just thousands? How many thousands in Canada?
16,000.
Not that much, thankfully, but
1,200.
no, more than that.
5,000.
Okay, do I hear something better than 5,000? Okay, 4,000. I'm going to go with the closest. So 4,000,
4,000.
which is really sad. And that tells me that people aren't getting served, and there's stigma in getting help. One of the fact sheets is how to get help. The quick answer is the first point of contact is usually the doctor, the GP. So if you need to tell somebody, start with the doctor. That's always a safe bet. Sorry, I know I'm
It's all
You're
right.
passionate.
I stand here like a monument anyways. My pleasure to thank you on behalf of the Rotary Club. You talked about a stigma at first, and I think that's quite true in the sense that we just are being ignorant of the facts that are there. I think depression itself is a terrific problem. I think that leads to a lot of complications, and I know that you do a lot of nice work. It's unfortunate that we don't know enough about it, but I think that basically speaking, someday we'll learn more and more and be able to help more people. So I have a little gift here for you, just to remember that you came here. I'm sort of glad that you talked about forgetting names. You did look at me prior to Eric's name, and I thought, I think she's singling me out. Anyway,
No, thank you
yeah,
very
Rotary
much.
Club, thank you very much.